Hey guys, welcome to another episode of El Jefe's Chop Shop. This week, we're finally going to see what's under the cover. Alright, so if you've been watching for the last few months, this thing has been tucked away in the corner behind a big tarp. So I spent yesterday, dug it out, got the tarp down and got everything ready to go. So this is a secret. It's freshly painted and it's got to be done for New Year's Eve. So I have my work cut out. Let's get it unwrapped and show you what's under there. Alright, I've owned this car for a very long time. The grand reveal. It's a K10. Alright, before we get into the details of this car, I'll show you the flashback with all the work we've done over the years. Alright, so I bought this car in early 2011. I got it from Victoria and then I started the build. There was about 2 years of doing building things and then I got to the painter and the shell was absolutely knackered. So I had to start again. So then we bought another shell, pulled a 4AG out, sold that on, and then put all of my front suspension back in. So it's got a E86 front end and a rack and pinion conversion, and it has a different diff and a different engine and a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of that is now stock. It still has the 86 front end, but there's been a lot of work since then. So that was in 2014. Then the new shell had all the rust cut out in 2014. And then all of the paint and panel and stuff has been done little bit by Dale's dad over the last probably 6 to 8 years. So it's been a huge effort to get to this point, but it's finally painted. And as you can see here, I'm just putting the front suspension back in to get it on a trailer or on a truck. So this is the front suspension from the wagon, and we just wanted to get it rolling so we can put it on the truck and make our lives a whole lot easier. So a lot of that stuff's going to come straight out, and I'm going to have to put in the K10 stuff. So this has been a long build already, and now we just have to put it back together. Alright, it's home. This is my K10 Corolla. So this is a 69 Corolla. It has some 67, 68 bits on it, but I'm sure most of you won't know the difference. It's currently sitting on the wheels for the wagon and the suspension for the wagon. I've got some 86 K20 stuff that I'll get into later. It all has been fitted to this car. It just needs to be painted again and cleaned up. So I'll add all that stuff later. But for now, this is what we're working with. And I think it's looking pretty good. So this is not a perfect paint job, but it is really good. It does have a little bit of bog in it here and there, but there's no rust, so that's the main thing. And it's super shiny and it's super straight as far as I'm concerned. And for the mates rates job that it was, I think it looks pretty amazing. So we'll be jumping into this in the next few weeks. Alright, so I've got the K10 stashed away in the corner now. It's taken a few days really to move these around and sort everything out. I'm still stepping over stuff, of course. So the K10 tucked away, it's got a nice car cover on it. Got a ratchet strap up between the two posts and a tarp in the way, piece of metal in the bottom to hold it still. So hopefully this will slow down, well ideally stop, but it will definitely slow down all the grinding sparks and all the dust and all the stuff that happens over here, heading that way. So hopefully that's good enough. Alright, so you've seen what went into it. I bought this as my first proper project when I was 18. So I've had it for 11 years now, and it's been at the paint for about 8 or 9 or something like that, many years. And it was kind of a no rush and a very cheap job. So thank you very much to Chris, Dale's dad. So this was painted by Dale's dad, the bloke with the Taranas. So he did a great job. This looks really good. It is a Renault colour, so it's like a modern Renault colour. And it looks like it should be. So we deleted all the chromes off the side and we deleted all the trims on the back, all the badges, all that sort of stuff. So there will be no marks on the outside to show you what it is. But I think it looks really good. Alright, so a quick rundown on this thing. It is a 1967 K10. So this is the first Corolla they ever made, or first generation anyway. And then this is the Series 2, so it's a later model dash and a bit of a different like lights and stuff. This particular one has the earlier model lights on the front, and then I don't know what chrome and stuff I'm going to use yet, but could be a bit of a mismatch of Series 1 and 2. But the doors are Series 1, which is a very small difference that only I would know. And the dash is Series 2, so it's a Series 2. So I bought this thing about a year out of school, so over 10 years ago, and it has been a project ever since. So I drove it for about a month. We went and picked it up from Victoria, drove it all the way back, and then I drove it around for about a month. Then we pulled the engine out to get it all cleaned up for Regency. So I resealed all the engine, redid all the engine bay, made it all look pretty nice, and then went through Regency, got it all legal and nice, and then put 3 months rego on it, and about a month in I pulled it apart and it never has been together again. So this thing's been apart for over 10 years, which is a bit scary, but given the Alice trip, I've got a little bit of confidence in the cars that have been apart for 10 years category, so we'll see how we go. So I spent the first few years of this project getting the front end all sorted and getting all the little bits and pieces where I wanted them. So this has an AE86 front end in it, which in a K10 is actually really difficult. In a K20 it's not so bad, and everywhere they're on, but in a K10 it's a bit awkward because there is a leaf spring that runs side to side in the K10. So we deleted that, put a different cross member in, swapped to rack and pinion, then also did struts and lower control arms, and then we had to make a caster arm bracket and all of that sort of stuff. So it's a bit of a process to get it to this stage. Then we also did a few little body mods. It's got a different master cylinder in it, and some other stuff. I can't really remember what I did. It was a very long time ago. So then it had all that done. It took a few years, got it all stripped back, got it all good, got it to the paint shop. It sat there for a little while. Then when Dale's dad actually looked at it, he realized that the shell was no good. So we had to throw that one out, which kind of sucked because it was a K10. But I also used those parts on my wagon not too long ago. So then we bought another car from my mate Matt, and that had a 4AGE in it and all the gearbox and everything to work. So it was a running car. It didn't run very well, but it did run. So pulled that motor and gearbox combo out, sold that to my mate Mitch, and then had a shell for very little money. So then I had to redo all the front end mods to this car. So I redid all the caster arm brackets, redid all the strut top mounts, all the everything. So it was a huge pain in the bum. Did all of that, and then it went to Dale's dad's place, and then he sent it to one of his friends, got all the rust repaired, got everything all smoothed and cleaned and all the trims removed and all that sort of stuff. Got it all like in a really good shape, and then a lot of things happened and a few years passed and we're here. So it took a lot of time to get to this point, but we're finally here. So let's get into putting it back together. So one of the first things to note about this car is it was my first car, and everything that I wanted to do to this, because it sat for so long, I ended up doing to my wagon, and I much prefer the wagon over the sedan. So unfortunately this is going to be for sale once I'm done. Probably in about a year or so I'll probably try and sell it, but we'll see how we go with time and money and all that sort of stuff. I may end up keeping it, but I very much doubt it. So the next thing with this K10 is a very pressing issue. We need to get this done for New Year's Eve. So Dale was engaged to a lovely lady, and this needs to be in his wedding because I'm going to be in his wedding, and we need to go and drive this and get photos with his car and all the other groomsmen's cars. So this is a bit stressful, and it needs to be done within the next 3 months. So you might think that 3 months is a long time. It's currently the 8th of September, so we need to get cracking on this thing ASAP, but it's got to go to the interior shop and get all that done. I've got the seats already done, but he's got to do the carpet and the dash pad and all those sorts of things, the door cards and all that. So that's probably going to take a couple of weeks, I imagine. And then we need to get the windows in, which I need to rely on someone else. We've got to do a full wiring loom. We've got to do an engine build. So Dale's building an engine for this thing, and he hasn't really started. Like, the block's been cleaned and bored, and that's it. So we need to do that. Then we need to get all of the underneath back in. So this is all the stuff out of the wagon. I've got all the custom stuff to go in, so that all needs to be painted, new bushes installed. Then we've got all the wheel alignment stuff, and there's just a fair bit to do. I need to make an exhaust for this thing. We're gonna do brake lines, fuel lines. This is basically a bare car, other than the suspension that I threw in just to get it here. So I'm pretty stressed out, if you hadn't noticed, so we're gonna just try and get stuck into this thing really soon and just get it all going. Alright, so I've started digging out the parts for the K10. I have millions of these boxes and I reckon about half of them say K10, so it's gonna be a long time looking for parts, but we'll get there in the end. So I've got one full of lights, I've got the front end in these two boxes, and we're just gonna have to try and get stuck into it. Alright, I've spent most of the day cleaning, painting, sorting, bolting things back together, but you'll see all of that next week. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you're excited for the K10. See you next week.